Trojan Felly, what's up, man? USCJ here. It's the top of the morning. I hope everybody is getting ready to get up, get out, and make some things happen this morning. Listen, we got a couple of things we got to talk about as it relates to the quarterback battle. We want to ask this question from you guys. You guys drop those comments in the comment section. I need everybody to keep it 100 because I went back and I looked at some film, and you guys know I talked about Miller Moss. I talked about Jaden Maiava. I talked about how this UCLA defense that Deontay Lynn had over at UCLA now brings it over here to USC. It causes confusions. It causes guys to make mistakes. But however, I do think that once these guys get under control and start really realizing what this defense is doing, I feel like both of them, Miller Moss and Jaden Maiava, both kind of had days kind of smoothing out. But I want to know from you guys, which guy had the smoother day? Which guy appeared to run the offense according to Lincoln's Riley standards this spring? And did Miller Moss run away with it? Was this Miller Moss's? Did he steal the deal? And I told you guys yesterday, I personally don't think that Miller Moss sealed the deal. And this quarterback competition, I want to talk about this. This quarterback competition literally reminds me of 2016 quarterback competition. And we'll talk about that. You guys can drop those comments and tell me what you guys think. And listen, I need everybody that comes on, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that share button. You guys already know where you can find me. It's going to be USCJ32 on Instagram and USCJ32 on Twitter. Now, let's talk about this 2016 quarterback competition that was between two guys that you guys know very well. One, he's very visible now. You guys can kind of see him with USC Athletics. He talks on the Trojan tailgate with Sean Cody and those guys, and his name is Max Brown. He was once a highly rated quarterback to come out of the state of Washington. If you guys remember, he waited his time. He kind of sat behind a couple of guys, and as a result, his time was supposed to be up next. You guys remember that, right? And the similarities as far as what we're getting ready to experience with these two quarterbacks, it's crazy because Sam Darnold was the backup. He was a redshirt freshman. He was already out of the state of California. And both of these guys, you guys remember? I specifically remember in fall camp how they were saying that we were starting to hear rumblings about Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold absolutely was balling in practice. And everything we saw him do in practice, he came and put that on the field. And, the question was, why didn't Clay Helton play him from the get-go? I mean, nobody could understand that. I couldn't understand it. And of course, you guys know what happened in that year. We went out, and we'll talk about this, but here were the two guys. Let me rewind this back. Here were the two guys. You got Max Williams there, highly rated quarterback, as I stated, out of the state of Washington, 5-star. And then, of course, you had Sam Darnold right here. And Sam Darnold was a monster. He was a beast. He led this team, pretty much went undefeated after those first few games. And look, we played Penn State in the Rose Bowl, battled it out with Chase McSorley, Saquon Barkley. You guys remember that. And Sam Darnold led this team the rest of the way. Now, here's an article that I want to bring back up from 2016 because this competition really reminds me of this Sam Darnold, Max Brown competition. And this was the article from the LA Times that says confident Sam Darnold is making the quarterback decision very difficult. So that's the question. Is this quarterback decision getting ready to be a difficult decision for a guy like Lincoln Riley? Miller Moss, you see him right there, spring game, did his thing. But then you got a guy that's right on his heels right now. The same way Sam Darnold was on Max Brown's heels, Jaden Maiava. And the question I want to ask you guys, who ran the offense more smoothly? To me, when you start looking at this, if we really want to talk about it, and if we really want to keep it 100, and I'm not trying to start a controversy here. I'm just basically bringing up a point that this really reminds me of the 2016 team, and the fact that we're both of us playing these SEC teams. We opened up with Alabama that year in 2016. Max Brown, he was a good quarterback, ended up transferring to Pitt, but he just wasn't able to get it done. And here's the thought process when I think about this. Max Brown wasn't as mobile as a guy like Sam Donald. And you guys know Sam Donald should have been in that game after the first quarter when we start realizing that Alabama was just, they kind of had his number. He was like, Max Brown was like a sitting duck. And there's no disrespect to Max Brown if you happen to hear this, but it was just like he was a sitting duck for an athletic Alabama team that was just moving and grooving. They had some absolute dogs. And, I mean, they were just smashing our running backs, but we needed somebody that can run some of those RPOs. We needed somebody that could come in there. And if you remember, Nick Saban ended up changing their situation, right? That's when they brought in, I believe it was Jalen Hurts. And they just changed the dynamics of the game. And so because Nick Saban made the proper adjustments, we didn't make the proper adjustments. We lost that game. Now, we would have won that game if we would have put Sam Donald in? I don't know. Who knows? Because when you stress out the defense, we had good players in. But when you put stress on the defense, like the way, the 3 and outs and all that type of stuff, it causes a whole different dynamic of the football game. And so my thing is, we got a similar situation coming up. And I'm not going to say either one way or the other, but we got a similar situation coming up this fall. And that's playing against a team like LSU. LSU, they're not as dominant as a team like Alabama that we faced back then. But I will say this. I know that we're going to have some RPO stuff. We're going to have some misplay stuff. We're going to have to, stretch that defense out, and we're going to have to move and groove, not, from no type of sitting duck type situation. Now, do I think Miller Moss is a lot more mobile than a guy like Max Brown? Absolutely. I think Miller Moss has better legs than Max Brown had. However, when I did watch Maiava over the weekend, and I saw how he ran the RPO plays, and I saw how he ran the offense, once he settled down and realized what the defense was doing, and he is a little bit of a gunslinger when you look at it. It did make me think of it. This crossed my mind. Listen, I can't help that this crossed my mind. This thought crossed my mind as to the battle. This is very similar, and I wanted to know you guys' thought, but I couldn't help but to think is, do we have a situation like 2016 possibly emerging? And my thing is this. What I do know about Lincoln Riley is he's not going to pull a Clay Helton. Clay Helton, if you ever watch this, it's no disrespect. I'm not one of those that disrespect people. I don't care how they feel about somebody if they didn't feel they perform to their standards. Clay Helton's done a lot more than a lot of people. He won us a Rose Bowl, so much respect to him. I'm not going to disrespect him. But Clay Helton is not going to Lincoln Riley is not going to pull a Clay Helton. And what I mean by that is he's not going to sit there and wait. I can guarantee you after the first, not even the first quarter, after the first series, if Lincoln Riley doesn't feel like it's right, I can promise you. And this is why I say that Jaden Maiava is on Miller Moss's tracks, because right now it's going to be so crucial that everybody makes the right it makes the right decisions and not make mistakes, because this first game that we're playing, LSU, is very critical. It's critical for so many reasons. It's critical not just for the image of the USC football program, because how we were embarrassed against a team like Alabama. We got to come out slinging. And there's no time for playing patty cake, Baker's man. I don't care if, Max Brown, he's been in the program for a long time. And, everybody felt like, you guys remember that he was the one that should have won that job. And everybody feels the same way about Miller. I feel the same way about Miller. I feel like Miller's been here. He's paid his dues. But at the end of the day, it's not about what I feel, because sometimes I feel like a nut and sometimes I don't. So the bottom line is this. I want the best thing for the team. I'm a Miller guy. I love Miller. But at the end of the day, is this going to be the best decision? And I think Lincoln Riley, he won't wait to pull the trigger on anything. And so that's what we got to look at. And, if he sees it in the first series, I can guarantee you, Lincoln Riley, we saw him do it with Spencer Rattler. We saw him do it with Caleb Williams. Spencer Rattler was the number one guy when he came out. You guys remember that? Out of state of Arizona. And then as a result, Caleb Williams comes, and then he just absolutely took over because Spencer Rattler at the time was very indecisive. Decision-making was up and down. Sometimes he was good. He was streaky. Sometimes he was up. Sometimes he was down. And sometimes he was almost to the ground. You never knew sometimes what you would get. But when you got it, when he did the good things, it was good, but when he did the bad things, it was bad. So that's how Caleb Williams was able to come in there and move and groove over Spencer Rattler's position. And so you guys drop those comments, man. You guys tell me what you think. This is my thought process. This is what I'm thinking as it relates to the quarterback position. I think Miller Moss is ahead, but I think Jaden Maiava is right there on his tracks. And I think we have a very similar situation to 2016, man. Look, I'm not changing my tune, but I'm just keeping a close eye on this because at the end of the day, this spring game opened my eyes up and I just saw something. It was just something about this is what it was. When I saw Jaden Maiava run the RPO play, but then he did like a pump fake, but let it down. And then I think he pumped it and let it down and maybe ran or pumped it, let it down. But it was just a twitchiness about him that causes defenders to just be up and down, to be stressed out, they don't know which way you're going with it. So they kind of thrown off and they just have to keep a close eye. And when he did that pump fake, I said, that's the same kind of twitchiness that a guy like Sam Darnold. You guys remember Sam Darnold used to pump fake and then he used to do all kinds of stuff. I said, wait a minute. I said, Jaden Maiava kind of has that. He does that's nothing that you practice. That's just built into who you are as a quarterback. Caleb Williams, he had that. He had it built in. That's what makes him so unorthodox. He'll pump it and then he'll all of a sudden throw it to the side. That's what makes Caleb Williams what he is. And so, look, man, you guys drop those comments, man. I just wanted to put this latest on the table because I want to know what you guys think about this. That's my assessment. That's my analysis as it relates to the quarterbacks. How this thing plays out is yet to see that. We'll see it in fall camp. But I can guarantee you, Jaden Maiava, Miller Moss is quarterback 1, QB 1, and Jaden Maiava's QB 1A. That's how I see it right now, and it could be QB 1 easy if anything goes wrong. Hit me in the comments. Let me know what you think. It's USCJ32 on Instagram, USCJ32 on Twitter. I'm out of here. Until later on, everybody stay blessed. Fight on, fight on, fight on.